house and recruiting their daughter to be your girlfriend at the age of 24. Okay, let me just, you could recruit anybody. That includes the Easter Bunny, the Leprechaun, Santa Claus. You can recruit guys. I'm sure they're going to find their way from the transfer portal and from the NCAA Division I football into the UNC. He was announced today on Instagram, and
on his or hers?
Probably both. If she wants to share his, then by all means do it. But it takes a lot. He went there
so he could make sure she got to class on time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Be like, okay, old timer, get rolling. No, but I mean, seriously, this is kind of the biggest thing for UNC football since sliced bread was created. I mean, it really is. They're an organization that has seen its share of wins, sort of, and its share of losses.
It's a basketball school. Let's be honest. Like to this point, it's a basketball school. I think they've won their conference one time back in like the early 80s, right?
Right.
So,
Michael Jordan,
like this is largely a basketball school. It'll be interesting to see if Belichick being there changes that and makes them a viable football school, because they haven't been.
No, they haven't been for decades. And I think more importantly, when you look at this, when you look at the NIL monies that's associated with this, it's huge. It's absolutely, it's monstrous. And even though the schools aren't going to necessarily just give up all that money, I think what's more important here is the fact that you're going to get the kind of players that you want. Why would you not want to be coached by a multi-Super Bowl championship head coach in the National Football League when your aspirations are to get to the NFL?
Yeah, imagine that recruiting path. Like this is where it's funny to me, because Bill is when you see him in football mode, not the best dude ever, right? Like on TV, he's actually kind of great as you see him kind of come out of the shell a little bit. But during football, I could see him on the recruiting path and like, yeah, you know, if you come here, you're not very good. Like we don't really need you, but you know, you could probably get to the NFL if you try hard. I actually don't know why I'm on your couch today. Like, you know, I'm just not getting the warm fuzzies from Bill. Like,
yeah. But what I was thinking is that he may not go out on the road to recruit. He'll have a team of recruiters, because he really doesn't need to go out and convince somebody to come. You either come and play for me or you don't.
Well, the reason why he's going
he's got to hit the road.
He has to hit the road. There's no doubt. Maybe bring someone along with him to drive him everywhere, kind of like a driving Miss Daisy situation, right? Sure. You know, there's no doubt about it. But you have to be able to convince someone, look, we're just not only a basketball school, as Bowie alluded to. This is more about what you can do for a football program that's been, you know, striving to be the best in NCAA, you know, division football ever. So this is kind of an opportunity of a lifetime. I mean, I can't even imagine the conversation he had to have with his girlfriend's parents, who are younger than him, in order to to convince them and get the blessing that he needs. Bill Belichick going into a recruit's home asking to be, you know, for this top tier talent to be on his football team, that's not going to take a lot of convincing. But you send an Eytan there, by contrast, by himself, they're going to laugh him out of his home.
I was thinking we might have to come up with a different term too than transfer portal. What is like something that's 10 times bigger than a portal?
A warp canister? I don't know.
Like I was thinking like a black hole.
Black hole. Like. Yeah, I love it though. That's it. It's a transfer black hole to UNC.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I think, especially when you think of the transfer portal, right? Because it's open now, right? It opens again after the spring game, and then it opens a third time just before the season starts. I think it actually even includes week 1 of the season, which is stupid. But that being said, there's going to be a lot of people transferring in, and then they're going to get through that spring game and realize Bill is kind of an asshole, and then they're going to transfer other places.
I will speak positively about him, though, and I'll tell you what, and then we'll get on to the NFL games on the card, is that being a Patriot fan for, since I was 5, and And there were some really bad years there, being in high school and getting mocked every time that it built my character. Anyway.
Yeah, your only good offensive lineman was the one on the helmet.
Yeah. The one thing he has a passion for, above and beyond being a humanitarian in the Boston area, is that he loves to teach.
He does.
That is his number one passion. And to send your kid to a school with the academic credentials of a UNC and say, okay, well, this is the best of both worlds. You're going to get a great degree. Because the last I did check, that UNC does require class attendance. That's not a bad deal. And you get to play potentially, even if you just rode the pine for 4 years and you weren't good enough, and you stay there and get that education. And I mean, that's a resume builder in my eyes.
Well, especially if you wanted to coach, like if you wanted to move in, say you're not good at football, but you're there. Imagine if you could make that transition and intern on that football team.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, like that could be a career jump for sure.
And that could be to the NFL as well. And
or even, just staying in the college ranks at first. So, I mean, I get the allure of it. I actually like the move for them. It probably brings them relevance similar to Dion going to Colorado, right?
Yep, I agree.
All of a sudden, TV cameras are on it, right? You're going to get way more press than, I mean, how many people remembered they had a football team, really, right? You think of them and you're like, oh yeah, we're going to see them here in a few months in the Final Four. Like,
there's no football conversation around that. I'm gonna add to that. I'm gonna add to that. So think about this: how much pressure is Bill Belichick really under? How much pressure does he really feel? Probably none. Probably none at all. And I say that even though he gets paid about $1 million a year, which is chump change considering what he did get paid when he was with New England. Now, with that, I think to myself, Bill, pressure? This guy lives and thrives under pressure. So be it. So in the NFL with the New England Patriots, that quarterback conundrum that was Mac Jones did not pan out in New England. I don't necessarily believe that it was his fault. You could put the blame on his shoulders to suggest that he was the one who went to his, to Mac Jones's parents, or he went to his college, or, that he had anything to do with them not succeeding. Now, may have been a personnel situation. Maybe somebody else wanted control. Maybe Robert Kraft in his infinite wisdom already wanted Gerard Mayo as their head coach. So it's just a good enough reason to get rid of Bill Belichick.
Maybe.
Just dug into the database here real quick. 1980, they went 10-1. Did North Carolina 10-2 in 81.
That's why I said early 80s.
0-10 in 1988.
Yeah, that seems right.
More recently, 6-6, 8-5, 9-5 in 2022. We know why that happened. 6-7, 8-4, 2-9 in 2018, 3-9 in 2017. Ups and downs. 11-3 in 2015. I forget who the quarterback was then, but they did have a really good defense one of those years. But I think the greatest opportunity for him in terms of the conference is that it's never been weaker, and that he has so much upside to build a team that is going to take care of beating Clemson, beating SMU. I think it's so much better than trying to go into the SEC as a head coach, because he might as well be in the NFL then. Same thing.
That's why I agree with Rudy. Like, he has no pressure here, because the bar really isn't set very high. And similar to Colorado, it's a weaker conference, right? I mean, so like the Big 12 isn't exactly juggernauts, right? So you look at what the AAC, and it's like there's nobody in it. Let's be honest. Like, it's not a great conference. So, and we're still going to get those Belichick, gems after a game. Be like, oh yeah, on to Georgia Tech. Like,
it's pretty funny if he said on to Cleveland.
That would be hilarious.
Well, that's where it all started from. But I'm going to say this, and we can move on. In that, the only difference between Bill Belichick, well, there's a lot of differences between Bill Belichick and Deion Sanders, in that Bill Belichick was never a player. but he was a tactician. On the opposite end of that spectrum, Deion Sanders learned in his specific role, wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys, and he played for another team in the Atlanta Falcons. So I think that from a player standpoint, the preach is a little bit different. But which speaks more? I guess I'll leave you guys with this question: which speaks more? A player that's been there, done that, already won a Super Bowl title, for one, or the most winningest head coach in NFL history who's never touched the field?
I mean, you're going for the coaching, right?
Well, 6 Super Bowls.
Well, true, I mean, but what has
Deion Sanders done?
I'm just saying that, by contrast, who would you still rather play for? A guy who knows the game inside and out, has been there, done that for years, who understands your specific position. Where do you think Travis Hunter is in the conversation with right now? The Heisman, right? At least he should be. So a head coach that's done it how many times? 6? I mean,
6.
Something.
Well, technically, I think it's 8 because he was with the Giants and got one there, and he.
Well, if we're talking head coach position, then yes, right. Only 6.
But an assistant.
Correct. An assistant.
When he was learning.
Correct. Yeah. I took nothing away from those rings, but as a head coach, it's 6. So, me as a player, I want a little bit of both, if that's even remotely possible. But I'm probably going to go with Bill Belichick over Deion Sanders, at least at this point.
For sure. Yeah. Especially when you're thinking of college, because it's developmental, right? Like it's where you need the most coaching. Like in theory, once you get to the NFL, you're supposed to be kind of good at your craft, right? The whole professional tag. So,
I think he'll teach that off the field stuff too. Like he'll take those guys that are definitely going to be first rounders, second rounders, and he's going to tell them this is how it is. And not to bring up the devastating event of Aaron Hernandez, but there's life lessons there, right? And he doesn't have to necessarily reference that, but he can say like these are the things you want to avoid, like strip clubs after 11 o'clock at night.
Well, he already said
anything that is logical.
The wings are really good, though.
But the wings are good. I want to say because the wings are good. And they have draft beer, or whatever. Take your pick. Yep. Anything that have, diet beer is what I call it. Diet beer. I mean, I'm not a drinker, but diet beer is like the light version. Anyway, the bottom line is this: if you are going to run an NCAA football team as an NFL franchise, almost like a G League to the NBA, then you should expect some type of feedback, not only constructive, but maybe destructive in some senses. And then what you should also expect as a head coach is scrutinization from media. Oh, he can't develop a quarterback, and he this and he that, and they haven't had a good one since Tom Brady, blah, 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 blah. Okay.
If they struggle, he will get plenty of that. He won't have any pressure from the university, but he will get piled on by the media because they'll forget that it's a basketball school.
Right. Yeah. All of a sudden now it's a football school. Now, how would
maybe Tom Brady's son will get recruited when he's old enough, and that'll solve all the problems.
I think Bill Belichick would probably be in hospice at that point by the time Tom Brady's son is ready to go. All due respect to the great Bill Belichick, but he won't be around that long. I mean, 3 years at UNC. Now, the only way he's going to come back is if they win a national title. I think that's the real reason why he would even remotely think about coming back.
Here's the thing about this move, right? Is I think that this is purely speculation, obviously, right? But
yeah, we're all speculating.
No, but I mean, like, so this is going to be like that conspiracy theory almost. So, obviously he gets let go last year. He gets one phone call, doesn't get the job, right? Okay. And then going into this year, it almost makes you think that the lack of interest in Bill did Kraft poison the water a little bit for another team to pick him up? And so that was the speed at which he took this college job, rather than seeing, because I mean, there's going to be plenty of openings in the NFL, right? Like there's quite a few guys that have already been fired. There's a handful more that are definitely getting fired. So, I mean, there's going to be plenty of openings around the league, but he went ahead and took this. I can't imagine that it's just purely for the legacy factor of being able to hand it off to his kid, which is kind of a unique, situation. But do you think that Kraft poisoned the well enough around the other owners that he wasn't getting a phone call anyway?
I can definitely see that.
I can see that, but the only reason why I would have any balk at that is because and I'm going to say this probably in a different way than what I'm actually thinking. So Robert Kraft takes a phone call and calls someone and says, "Don't hire Bill. We're done. We're washing our hands with him." Now, that's coming from the owner.
I don't think it'd be that overt. I think it would be like,
what, over coffee?
Just little digs here and there.
Well, maybe in some putting, some sugar in the coffee kind of thing, where if it's not sweet enough, put another spoon in. If it's not that sweet, you put some more, sugar in. I think this is about the arsenic that Robert Kraft was trying to put into other people's coffee throughout the NFL to say, nah, don't hire the guy. He's over the hill. He's old. We're done. Now, that speaks a lot because that comes from one of the, I'm not going to say he's the best owner in football terms. Did he pay himself off and did he pay off the cops about his possible human trafficking situation and the happy ending that he experienced?
To your point, he is one of the pillars, right? Like he is one of the Jerry Jones type of guys in the league.
Right. That's correct. But at the same token, do you take it from do you take a grain of salt coming from Robert Kraft, knowing his own history of scandalous types of situation to winning as coach that's never had one?
Yeah, I think the only team that would really just ignore Kraft or Jones would be the Raiders, right? Like I could see Mark Davis, and not because he's trying to go buck the system or anything like that. I just feel like he never really knows what's going
on.
All righty then. Well,
on that note, let's move into. I'm going to tee up the Steelers and the Eagles for us here. I just have to find the thing here, and here we are. Pittsburgh 10-3, and I just like saying that I cashed that wins ticket now 3 weeks ago. The Steelers are currently leading the AFC North. They have won 7 of the last 8. And they are definitely in a secure situation for a playoff spot. In fact, I think if with a win and certain losses by other teams, they earn that spot. The Eagles are in the playoffs officially. They're on a 9-game winning streak, and they are leading the NFC East, and that is pretty much a foregone conclusion that they will win that division. And as I already said, they clinched a playoff spot and looking for the Buffalo Bills to beat the Detroit Lions this weekend, so they can assume the top spot, which is also the very important bye. Steelers offense, middle of the road, ranked 15th in the NFL, averaging 22.3 a game. Steelers defense is just awesome. 4th in run defense. Look out, Saquon. Allowing only 91.5 rushing yards per game. They also lead the NFL in takeaways, Jalen Hurts, with 28. Eagles offense, 7th in the NFL with an average of 27.1. That number has been trending upwards, gentlemen. Eagles defense ranked 10th now in the NFL, allowing average of 19.8 points per game, but they are number 2 in total defense. Eagles favored by 5. Money line, Eagles minus 235. If you like the Steelers, plus 190. The total is 42.5 over, paying minus 110. And I'll leave this to you, Rudy. The matchup I think is very important to watch early on is TJ Watt going up against Lane Johnson. This is a marquee matchup, to say the least. And whoever starts winning that battle in the first quarter, I think that's going to precipitate over the rest of the trenches, and that could really spell who's going to win this game right away. I'm liking the over. I'll tell you that right now. I like the over quite a bit. I like the over for both team totals, and I do see a lot of scoring. The reason I say that, and then I'll turn it over to you, Rudy, is that you have 2 really good defensive units playing well, probably at the best level they've played all season. They're allowing less than 18 points a game, both of them. That adds up to 36. The total is 43, 42 and a half at most places. Why is it so darn high? That is telling the market is telling me to take the over. What do you think of this game, Rudy? Are your Steelers going to pull it off?
You know, this is a very interesting matchup. Forget the Steagles of old. This is not the Steagles. This is the Steelers and the Eagles. And this is going to be this is my game of the week. And it's always great to start off the show with the game of the week. And I say that because both teams are just playing absolutely lights out in their respective positions, from the wideout spots, either whether it's A.J. Brown, of course, George Pickens is still kind of up in the air with a slim chance to actually play, which affects who you throw that ball to. It could be Van Jefferson, could be Pat Freiermuth, could be a recipe for which they had seen destroying the Browns. And of course, a very interception-friendly secondary for the Steelers. They did, lose some guys to injury and whatnot during that game, but I expect a full participation this week for all those guys. Now, as far as where the numbers lie, okay, I'm taking a line at maybe a 4.5, right? Because I see this as being a very uninspired win against the Carolina Panthers last week for Philadelphia. And of course, there's some dissension in the locker between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. And, I think media is trying to make more out of this than what it actually is. To me, this is a nothing burger. Hold the onions and hold the mayo, because your beef's going to slide off the bun. So I just think to myself, this is great, because this works in kind of a favor in the sense of Mike Tomlin, 60, 32, and 3 against the spread in his entire career. That says a lot. He's pulled it out of his hat now that he's has a certain recipe for winning with Russell Wilson under center. And there's some nonsense about, I've seen on social, of course, social is full of nonsense for the most part, but there's certain component where somebody wanted Russell Wilson tested for HGB or hormone growth. It's just absolutely stupid, to say the least. But the Eagles are still playing in one of the hottest winning streaks, at least the second longest active winning streak at 9 games, as you mentioned, John. So this is going to be a very, very good game. Steelers are 5-2 against the spread, where the Eagles are 1-4 at home. So this is not going to be the highest scoring game. I don't expect it to be the highest scoring game. Matter of fact, probably the lowest scoring game between both. But if each team can score 18 points apiece, I see for this coming out. But as far as a coming out party for the Steelers on the road, it's a slim margin. I'm picking them 21-20 on the road.
Okay. All
right, Bo. One of the things that's leaning me towards the over is the fact that this is a sandwich game for the Steelers, meaning that they just came off a divisional win and they play a divisional foe next week. But for the Battle of Pennsylvania, I think the Eagles will get their full attention. And who better in preparation than Tomlin right now? I mean, you just cannot say enough accolades for the guy. Do you think that the Steelers could pull off the upset? And one last thing for people to note, I want to make sure I didn't forget this. With the Steelers organization, if a player, referencing Pickens here, does not practice on a Thursday, it's almost 100% under Tomlin that he does not play on Sunday. Therefore, you can see the line go up maybe to 6.5 even if he's not playing. Anyway, take it away, Bo, and tell us who you like.
Yeah, so I do like the Eagles at home here, but if you're looking at BetMGM, the line is 5.5. And you know how I feel about a line that's 5.5. The underdog likes to win a lot. So it does give some credence to a Steelers team that could come into Philly and get it done. But I do like the Eagles here. This really is strength against strength, right? Both of them have good offenses, and what they do well is what the other defense does well. So this is going to be, again, probably the game of the week. And, man, it's going to be a fun watch. This is one where I would absolutely keep my money in my pocket. I do kind of like the over, but I don't think I'm betting on this game at all.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the next game here, which is the Bills and the Lions. How about the game that he put in last week? 6 touchdowns, 3 rushing, 3 passing. It's never been done by any human being in the NFL. Maybe somebody did it in high school, but not the NFL. And making it worse, he lost the game. How does that happen? I guess the only way that happens if you're playing a desperate team like the Rams, who held on for that 2-point win in a very high-scoring game. In this matchup, though, I really do like the Bills here because teams that are on 11-game winning streak, guys, are 28% against the spread. And it's only a 2.5-point line, making the Detroit Lions the favorite at home. A team on an 11-game win streak, only favored by 2.5 against a team coming off of a loss. And Buffalo has a lot more reason to really win this game, knowing that they should have won last week over the Rams. But never look behind, you're always looking forward. Rudy, you think the Bills are going to end this 11-game winning streak?
That's going to be tough. I like the Bills in this matchup, but man, the Lions and Dan Campbell and Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, you have too many weapons. Sam Laporta. I mean, this team is filled with talent. They've been using it. It's been on display. It's hard for me to pick against Detroit. I'm just saying that despite Buffalo playing the way that they did, to lose the way that they did has to be heartbreaking for the organization. Of course, Fireball native from where I'm at in Fresno, California, about an hour away from here. I'm sure he's singing the blues right about now. I probably wouldn't give him a guitar. He'd probably smash it. But I think more importantly, I look at this game and think to myself, man, even though Buffalo is playing lights out, I think the Detroit Lions are just playing a step ahead of Buffalo, and basically a step ahead, not only in their conference, but in the NFL, maybe in some parallel universes like the Kansas City Chiefs are, despite Kansas City not winning the way that they should, or at least we have known that they should in past games and past championships. So I'm going to have to favoritize the Lions in this one. It's slim. It's going to be rough and gritty, but I'm picking the Lions 31-28. So if there's a line currently at DraftKings is under 400, I like the over, but barely if you're the Bills trying to cover. The Lions obviously will end up getting the win, but you can bet some pizza money if you want. Hold the anchovies.
Nice. I like it. Bill, do you think the 11-game win streak ends?
No, I'm with you. I like the Lions here, and not for any other reason than the first round bye is on the line in this game. Because you got to keep in mind, the Vikings are 11-2. They're right there knocking on the door. So every one of these games matter. They are in playoff mode if they want a first round bye. So as much as I appreciate what the Bills have been doing and, largely have thought they've been one of the more complete teams in the league, if the only way you can win is by Josh Allen playing hero ball, that's going to catch up with you against good teams, right? And, I mean, the Lions are a good team. They have one loss for a reason. And it was, pretty early in the year. So, I like this team. They've been able to evolve as their guys have gotten hurt. And again, if Josh Allen has to be the guy to score every point for your team, that spells trouble going against these top-notch teams. So I do like Detroit at home. I would take them to cover since it's only 2.5. That is a kind of a crazy line to me. That this feels like a kind of a high-flying game where, you're going to end up like, I don't know, 35-28 kind of thing. Like it's there's going to be a lot of scoring in it just because as of late, both these defenses have let up some points.
Well, I'll end it with this one algorithm I have, and I'm not saying that I'm on Buffalo and I'm not saying that I'm on the under. I do kind of like the under because what do successful teams do? After a game where they allowed 30 or more points, they focus on the defensive end. And I do think that Buffalo will be, bringing the A game defensively as best they can against this juggernaut offense, because that truly is the only way they have a chance of beating them. If they fall behind like they did to the Rams, it's lights out. But anyway, this has gone 40-17 straight up. So to your point, the money line here is looking attractive versus the spread. 32-14 against the spread, which is quite good, and 41-15, 73% to the under since 2015. Simply bet on road teams that have outscored their opponents by 7 or more points per game, which Buffalo has done, and they allowed 30 or more points in their previous game. That's it. That's all there is to that system. And I'm not sure how I'm going to play this, but
take the over on penalties.
Yeah.
You could put yourself in better waters there. Yeah.
The other thing is Detroit in their game last week had only 2 drop passes. And that is somewhat very unusual. It's a tremendous performance, but to go back-to-back weeks rarely happens. So not saying that it's not going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit has, 4, 5, 6, and that would be attributed to the pressure that Buffalo is going to have to get on him to stay in the game, because otherwise it's like I said, it's lights out. It is hard to bet against Detroit. It's like catching a falling knife, and you never want to do that. How about the last game here before we go to the best bets, and that is the Cleveland Browns going up against the Chiefs. And boy, oh boy, a couple injuries on the Chiefs secondary, and all of a sudden the markets have the Browns as a giant killer. They're only 4-point home dogs to the Chiefs, who have been winning with smoke and mirrors and a last second field goal that clanks off the upright and somehow goes across the crossbar. They win. But I'll start with this system here. It does support the Browns. Again, I'm not saying that I'm on them quite yet, because it's very scary to bet against a team that can play bad and actually win. It's kind of like watching the Eagles last week against Carolina, who were lucky to win that game. And when I saw that touchdown pass to whoever it was on Carolina, I thought that was a catch and that the Eagles had fallen behind with 52 seconds to go in the game. And also, I'm going to drill this home to anybody who's listening right now. Everybody's heard about the guy who bet $3.2 million at the Circa on the Eagles money line.
Yep.
Look, can you imagine if that was ruled a catch? And this is why you do not bet stupid games or stupid bets on big favorites using the money line. In other words, would you risk $320 to win 40?
So the thing is, if you're putting up a $3 million bet on a bad game, you're printing money in your basement anyway. $3 million means nothing to you.
Well,
so, I mean, I wouldn't do it, but like if you have stupid money, those guys do all kinds of stuff.
I guess that's true. I guess we know enough about the betting and experience has taught us well, right? No better teacher than losing money, whether it's in the market, trading the market, or betting sports.
I mean, look at
if I was a billionaire, I would be embarrassed to walk into the Circa with $3.2 million and make such a stupid, idiotic bet.
I mean, look at the guy Mattress Mac. Right.
Well, there's another example.
Stores, he puts out some of the dumbest bets ever. Some of them cash out. If he would have taken all of the underdogs in week 2 this year, he'd have cleaned up. He'd have probably never had to sell another mattress in his life.
He'd be too busy laying on a mattress of money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Scrooge tucking it up there.
There you go.
Let me do this real quick. I just want to finish that system. We're going to bet on home dogs playing on Sundays. And what that means is obviously not a primetime game on Monday or Thursday. Wasn't being sarcastic. The dog is priced between 3.5 and 9.5 points. Dog coming off a loss, failed to cover the spread. Game occurs from week 8 on to the end of the regular season, or basically the second half of the regular season. And the favorite won their previous game, priced as a favorite. So they're favorite again, which is the Chiefs. That system has gone as a 36 and 63 straight up, but 56 and 39 for 60% winning bets since 2015. So it's pointing me to the Browns and maybe a little sprinkle on the money line, but I just don't have the courage yet to go to the window and bet against the Chiefs. What do you think, Rudy?
I'm not going to bet against the Chiefs, but I will tell you this. I'm betting against a third-string starter and DJ Humphries against Myles Garrett any day of the week, because we clearly seen Myles Garrett get after Russell Wilson. We see Myles Garrett take on just about everybody, who is just 1 sack or maybe 1 and 1.5 sacks shy of TJ Watt. So a lot to be said for that front with it led by Myles Garrett. Not much else on that line, of course, but Myles Garrett, everybody else joining in on the tackle after the fact. But in regards to where Jameis Winston is, he's tend to implode and explode like otherwise silent volcano on an island you didn't expect to explode and get hit by. Look what happened to Pompeii. So I don't know that that the Browns are going to explode that much in the sense of at least off the line. But the secondary, as you mentioned, John, certainly has some issues. But what they don't have issues with are interceptions because they know how to get those. They have QB spies on any given set defensively. So I don't believe that the Browns are going to get enough steam, even though the Chiefs aren't playing their best ball. They've clinched not only the AFC West, but a playoff spot all in one. So it's hard for me to pick against Kansas City, despite I think the Browns covering in this game. I think the Chiefs are going to go on to win this 31-23.
Yeah, I just can't put myself in front of a locomotive, for lack of a better word. It's sometimes it's just better to say, I wish I would have bet the Browns. Then bet the Browns, and they're losing 21-0 in the first quarter. What do you think, Bo?
Yeah, I mean, you can't go against KC just because, for whatever reason, luck seems to be on their side, right? Like they're banking field goals in, they're getting random calls going their way. I mean, blocked kicks. Like there's so many just little things that will have lucked them into wins. I can't imagine that. At some point it's going to catch up with them, but I'm not going to put money on when that happens. Right. So I wouldn't bet against them here. I kind of don't like the line though. I think the Browns make this interesting, right? Cause they're a 4-point favorite. This seems like it's probably going to be a field goal game because that's just the kind of games KC is playing. Like they're against good teams, they're playing up. Against bad teams, they're playing down. They only seem to like to win by a field goal. So a 4-point spread, I actually kind of don't love here.
Yeah, I don't. It's too iffy. And Kansas City is due to blow somebody out. That 11 of their 12 wins now have been by 7 or fewer points. Mm-hmm. The last team to do that was Minnesota, and they didn't do too well in the playoffs. Just saying. Just saying. All right, let's move on to the best bets for the show, and I'll let you guys go. Bo has his show coming up at noon. Encourage everybody to just transition right into that one. Get yourself a little sandwich here before noon Eastern Standard Time. Sit down and enjoy his show. And Rudy's always active out there at Fox 26 KMPH in the northern part of California. I always think of you as closer to LA for some reason. I guess it's a celebrity status that you bring.
That's right.
It has to be that, Bo. It has to be.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know about all of that. I will say this. I'm in the armpit of California, and that's Fresno, California. So whether you find hair there or not, I'm here. So, I'm always on at night, 10 o'clock news. You'll find me reporting everything community-based, from the good to the bad and the oh my gosh. So stay tuned to that. Usually my segment's at the top of the show and not the bottom of the show. You always go to kmph.com, go to /live, and you'll see the 1-hour broadcast. And by the way, I will be anchoring this weekend. And just in case anybody wants to dabble in some Christmas Day news, I will be anchoring that as well.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, my show best bet is going to be on the over in the Eagles game. As I said, I like the team total on both of these guys. I guess if I had to pick one, and we're only doing one pick per participant here, I think I'm going to take the over in the Steelers total. So I'm going to look that up right now while Rudy gives his best bet, and then we'll get a price tag for the over Steelers total. But I do think the Eagles win. What's yours, Rudy?
Of course, John. You do. Miami Dolphins 6-7 over the Houston Texans at 8-5. I don't know that I like this game a whole lot from a betting standpoint. The Texans stumbled into their Week 14 bye, which was probably a much-needed one based on injuries and basically just kind of re-gifting themselves some father time and getting that back on a loan basis. But don't forget, they lost 32-27 to an otherwise 3-10 Jacksonville Jaguar team. So it doesn't say a whole lot about going into your bye on a loss. It's always good to go out on a win, of course. But this is what DeMeco Ryans is calling a rejuvenated team. I don't know that I like this game in the sense of betting, but if there was an over, I'd probably take the Texans on the over. And if there was, I'm going to have to say Dolphins win this in an upset against the Texans because Tua is playing better than CJ Stroud, at least for the moment. Weather's not going to be an issue. And then on top of that, the Jaguars in the last play against the Texans lost 2 of 3, including a home loss to the Titans. So, again, they're not playing their best ball. Maybe the Texans were playing their best ball, but when you lose 2 or 3 in a row, come on. I'm taking the Dolphins 26-21.
Love it. And bringing up the anchor. And by the way, we're only hitting 69% against the spread for the entire season on this show, which is truly remarkable. I'd state that humbly because, you're just, a few hours away from a possible 0-3, and that's the reality of sports betting, right? But we grind it out, and over the course of the season, we end up making money, and I've been doing this a long, long time. Anyway, what's your best bet, Bo? And we'll sign off after that.
Yeah, so I like the Broncos to cover over the Colts. So they're a 4-point favorite at home. And quietly, they have one of the best defenses in the league. You have Anthony Richardson prone to throw some picks, and you have an opportunistic defense. I think the Broncos can get this done at home and cover that 4 points.
I'm going to tag on to that. This is a premium bet that goes to the clients. I can't help myself after hearing that because this may have been my show best bet. But I'm still sticking with the Steelers. Colts, Broncos, 8-unit bet on the Colts. System has gone 25-23 straight up. That's only 52%, but keep in mind we're playing dogs. Money line dogs are probably averaging about a 175 dog. That makes a lot of money just sprinkling the money line in this situation. 32-16 against the spread, 67% past 10 seasons. The requirements are bet on a road conference dog priced between 1.5 and 7.5 points. The game occurs in December. The road dog has lost 3 of their last 4 games to the spread. If we drill a little bit deeper into the database, we learned that the teams in this situation that are 1 game under 500 have gone 9-1 against the spread for 90%, going all the way back to 1990. So super rare, but very, very profitable indeed. I really like this Colts bet that Bo has. And I guess that's it. Any final thoughts, Rudy, before I let you go?
I'm going to co-sign on that one, only because Denver quietly, Bo Nix is becoming the proverbial starter that has been needed in Denver for quite some time, and they're getting to guys that they need to. He's playing the best ball of a rookie campaign, quietly maybe rookie of the year.
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm reaching maybe, but the way he's playing, the way that they have their team playing, Sean Payton knows what the heck he's doing. He's done it before. Anybody ever heard of the guy named Drew Brees? Well, I'm sure you have, who holds passing records still to this day that stand in Nolans. So Broncos quietly one of those teams in the AFC West that people need to watch out for. The line is 4.5. So at 4.5, I'm feeling good about that. If I'm a Denver Broncos fan and I want to bet on this game, I wouldn't go nuts on this. I wouldn't, everybody has their own amount of money they can afford to lose, but don't bet money that you can't afford to lose. So play smart, not hard. And this game and the bet is not that hard. So either you take the under or don't bet at all.
Yep.
Love it. Bo, any final thought in 10 seconds? I know you need to go.
Yep. Nope. I'm good. Just prepping for the next hour. And, for those of you that are switching over to watch that, see you in a few minutes.
You got it. Until next Thursday, when we're back here again at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As I say every single week and every single day, bet with your heads, not over it. And also listen to Rudy's saying, which I couldn't repeat because it was very complicated and complex. But it meant the same thing. And lastly, may all the wins be yours. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.